On behalf of Crosscheck Media and Biz Talk Today TV, welcome everyone to the Money Path. I am your host, Todd Schoenberger. Joining me today is Rebecca Irey. She is the founder and CEO for Blue Skye Financial, located in Austin, Texas. Hook 'em horns. Rebecca, you've helped thousands of families over the years from helping with transition from financial uncertainty to, say, legacy wealth. What is the number one, the first mindset shift that someone needs to make in order to start building a tax-free retirement?
The rules that apply to wealthy families apply to us too. Even if you don't consider yourself wealthy, using traditional tools in non-traditional ways is the path to wealth today. That's exactly how to do it.
Okay, that's it. Okay, so that sounds easy enough then. Can you when you mention tax-free retirement though, can you help us with this to understand it better? I mean, maybe give us a practical strategy that say someone can use today to say convert or even maybe restructure assets to help build that tax-free
Sure.
income.
Absolutely. So we're coming in the end of the year, right? This is the busy season for us. Everybody's planning for tax loss harvesting. Let's minimize the tax budget. And it's my opinion that it's our civic responsibility to avoid, not evade, but avoid as many taxes as possible. Like that makes us a good citizen. You're not a better citizen if you pay more taxes. It's our responsibility to pay as little as possible because the more we save, the more we can do other things with. So easy strategy right now at the end of the year, let's look at Roth conversions. Honestly, if you're not thinking about Roth conversions right now, you need to fire your financial advisor. And if you're doing it yourself, you need to fire yourself and find a good advisor. The reason for that is, we have the one big beautiful bill and the government is telling us um, we'll never have a tax increase. I'm going to tell you, I think that's written in pencil.
Okay.
I don't think that. I don't think there's any possible way our country can add $1 trillion to our national debt every 5 months, which is what we do right now, and not ever have a tax increase again. I think that's ridiculous. However, we do have this administration has told us we're not going to increase income taxes right now. So the thing about it is, regardless of your age, there is a limit to Roth contributions. There's no limit to Roth conversions. Taxes will never be lower than what they are now. Never. It will never. I firmly believe they'll never be, income taxes will never be lower than what they are today. So
Hmm.
while you are limited to what you can contribute to a Roth, you're not limited to what you can convert to a Roth. So now is the time to look at, especially if your income hasn't been as high as it was before. If you're a small business owner, you need to look at this. You need to talk to somebody in tax advisory to limit your taxes and then Roth convert everything you've got if you can. Now, be especially careful if you're 63, 62, 63 in that Medicare window because your Roth conversion can mess up what you pay for Plan B in Medicare. So make sure that you're talking to a holistic advisor. But if you want a, a quick strategy that you can use in the next 6 weeks to limit your taxes, that's one.
Okay, so help me with this. I have a 401k. How do I convert, and maybe some is pre-tax, some is on the Roth side. How do I convert the entire, do I need to roll that money over to convert it entirely? And then what's
You
my
do.
tax situation going to look like?
So here's the thing. It depends on your age, right? So if you're young, so if you're under 59 and a half, look, you're going to take a hit. The government is not they will be paid. They will take their bite of the apple. They
Mhm.
will. And that hurts. Does that hurt? Yes, it does hurt. No question. And maybe you create a strategy where you do part this year, part next year, and part in the third year. So you maximize this low tax frame. But yes, you need to roll it from your 401k, your IRA into either the Roth side of your 401k if you're still working at that employer. You can roll
Mm.
it completely out if you're not working at all and really look at options. There are options out there. One of the traditional tools we use in a non-traditional way is we can use a fixed indexed annuity with a bonus, right? So what you would do then is you take your money, you roll it, you pay the taxes, but because of the bonus the annuity company gives you, you're you're back to what you had originally inside your annuity account. And then you can roll that back out into the market if you so choose to do so. you're not stuck there forever. But now you're having an insurance company pay your taxes and not you. And for my money, if somebody else wants to pay my income tax, that's just fine with me. Yes, please. And more of that. Yes. So a traditional tool used non-traditionally to get your taxes paid, and eventually, and here's the text that's coming out, right? Eventually be able to say to the government, you can kick rocks barefoot. I'm never paying taxes again, except on my Social Security, which is the tax that will be taxed forever and ever. Amen. We're not getting out of that. I wish I could, but we can't. So
Yeah, yeah. Hey, here's a stupid question for you, and only because I've heard this in some circles, financial circles. Do you think that the government will ever be in a position where it will have to change the rules of the Roth retirement plan, where they will have to take some sort of tax or fee on those distributions?
I mean, let's look at it logically, right? In 2012, our national debt was $12 trillion. 12 trillion dollars.
Yeah.
Today, we passed 37 trillion, and it's growing by $1 trillion every 5 months. I think the government is going to have to look at every possible avenue that they can look at to increase revenue into the budget. And will that mean changes to Roth? Yeah, probably. So the important part is, I'm a farmer. I'm a farmer's daughter, right? I'm not a native Texan. I was raised in South Dakota. So we make hay while the sun shines, and the sun is shining right now. Roth conversions are the thing to help. If you taxes are going to go nowhere but higher, and we are historically low, Todd, right? Like, do you know the top tax bracket ever in the United States? What is the top federal tax bracket?
I mean, I'm guessing it's 39.6%, but you tell me.
So in 1941, the top federal tax bracket was 94%.
Wow. Oh,
Can you, and that's before state taxes, right? That's
right.
before the state took their cut. So if you go back in history and you look, like Ronald Reagan was an actor before he was ever a governor or president, right? And
Hmm.
when he was an actor, he only made 2 movies a year, because after 2 movies a year, he would make more than $250,000, which would put him in the top federal tax bracket. And he's like, I'm not doing that. Forget that. And his top priority when he became president was to lower federal taxes, because he had been on the receiving end of, I'm giving 94 cents out of every dollar I make to the federal government. And that's ridiculous.
Wow.
Right. So
Yeah.
we have historically low tax rates right now, and we need to be thinking about how to maximize that for us as middle and high income families. Even, I don't care what you have, paying taxes on the harvest and not paying taxes on the seeds doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't.
Right, right. So I know you're in Austin, you're dealing with clients in Texas, but you also deal with clients outside of Texas. Do you have to structure all of these plans differently because they're in, say, tax income states? Because in Texas, you're not being charged, or you're not assessed a income tax on the state level.
Yeah, God bless the great republic, right? No state income tax here. Although for those of us who pay the property tax in Texas, we'll tell you it's, that
Oh, I
they always
know.
get you one way or
Yes, they
another,
do.
right? Here's the beautiful thing is the top tax brackets, unless you're talking about California, New York, Massachusetts, we're typically under 10%, right? So what we're going to look at is minimizing our federal tax. And if it's not subject to federal tax, typically it's not going to be subject to state tax either. So I'm really privileged to be able to help families across the country. Obviously, I love my Texan families, but my specialty really is flyover country. So born in South Dakota, and I go all the way from South Dakota down to Texas. So that column of Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas,
I-35 all the way
that
down.
absolutely all straight down. My husband was a Minnesota native, so
Okay.
35 and one
Yep.
left turn. And for old house to new house, 17 hours on the 35 and one left turn. Now we're home again.
That's funny. So I know that behavioral insights is one of your pillars. So, and what I mean by that is, how people react to money, their decision making, maybe even risk tolerance. What do you see as far as something that, or can you give us an example actually of maybe one of your clients who has actually changed their behavior where it turned into a success story?
So here's the thing with kids. So I have 7 children. My oldest child is 34, my youngest child is 15. And here's what I can say about my kids is they believe the financial system is stacked against them. The tools that worked for me will not work for them, and they're not wrong. They're right. They're behind the 8 ball from the get. And so what that means to them is they have no delayed gratification when it comes to money. None. I make it and I spend it because why? Why am I gonna scrimp and save? And you have gurus out there, hello Dave Ramsey, right? Never spend an extra dollar so that when you're old and dusty, you'll have money. Nobody wants to wait until they're old as Dave Ramsey to have money. I don't even want to wait that long, right?
Yeah.
But younger generations for sure don't. I mean, sorry, but
Yeah. No, I got it.
dude's up there. He's up there. God love him. And in fairness, I homeschooled my kids. I put them all through Financial Peace University. And for high schoolers, it was perfect information. Like, don't get carried away with credit cards. Pay attention. Learn to budget. It's great. But there comes a time when you graduate from elementary school and you want to put some advanced financial practices into place for your life. So here's a story. I had a client, 25 and 28, sweet couple, but they had that feeling like the financial deck is stacked against us. We don't know what we're going to do. We have no plan. We're making money, but we're not saving anything because why? So I said, well, when would you like to retire? And they said, well, we can't really, is an adorable answer. We can't really imagine working past 40.
Oh,
Don't you love that? Don't
that's
you
fun.
love that?
Yeah,
I
right.
just love that. It was a fantastic answer. So I said, okay, what do you want to make when you're 40? And they said, well, we need to make at least $100,000 a year.
Oh my God.
Okay, fair enough. So I said, well, we need to adjust that for inflation because in 12 years, $100,000 isn't going to be what $100,000 today is.
Yep.
So I said, we can reverse engineer that. So I can tell you what you need to invest today to do that. And I said, and I warned them up front, I'm like, it's not going to be comfortable. Like, no one's saying wealth comes without sacrifice. It does not. But if you want 12 years of sacrifice instead of 40 years of sacrifice, I can do that. We can do that. We can get there from here.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I sat down with them and we kind of laid out all of the structure of the plan that we had created, they went, okay, so what you're saying is I don't have to give up Starbucks for my whole life, but I probably have to give up Starbucks right now. And I'm like, oh yeah, you do. Yeah,
Yeah.
you do. And they did. And they're on the path, right? They're looking at rental properties. They're looking at how can we not only we don't have to just white knuckle things. We
Mm-hmm.
can utilize now extra strategies because we have foundational safety. And then we can add strategies that will increase our accumulation so that we can get there in 12 years. And here's the message, right? Wherever you are, we can get to where you want to go. Is it going to
Mm-hmm.
be pain-free? Are you never going to have to budget or sacrifice? No, it will be quite sacrificial, right? Depending on how fast you want to go, you're going to have to scrimp and save, but dang, you don't need to wait until you're old and dusty to have a nice life. You do not have to. Just depends on what you want to invest and how you want to invest it. And let's go. Let's get it done. We can get there from here.
Right, right. Wow, that's amazing, and that's great advice. And what a great story. So, will they retire at 40, or what do you think?
I mean, here's the trick, right? The system only works if you work the system. So if they stick to it, yes. Yes, I'm ultimately confident, even though, in this market, the market's been brilliant for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we all know if we're really love this administration or hate this administration, we're one tweet away from a market correction. We are. We just
Yeah.
that close, and we're really overdue for one. So
Mm-hmm.
the beautiful part about the plan that we structured for them is that even if, like, we have planned for a 30% market correction, if we have a 30% market correction, they're still going to make it by 40.
Wow, that's incredible.
Okay,
Well, there, that's wonderful.
we can
Yeah.
get there from here. So the key is we need to get young families and say yes and acknowledge you're you're screwed. I
Yeah.
get it. Traditionally, what worked for me is not going to work for you. I understand, but we can put tools to work for you in untraditional ways to get you there. It's up to you. We can break the system and make a new one for your generation. We can do that, but I have to get to them and say, let's make a new plan then. Let's do it. And we can.
Yeah.
And we do daily.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember years ago, I saw a study that showed that if you take someone who is age 25 and they're investing up until the age of 35 and they stop, then you take another person that starts at 35 and goes all the way up to 65 and then stops. The first person will have, I don't know if it was double the amount but it was a much higher figure than the second person, only because of the theory of compounding. And so
Yeah.
that's the purpose, and that's why young people getting started early, saving money is definitely the your best option.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you need to do it right, right? Because here's what happens. And I'm sure this is what happened to me. I'm not going to speak for anyone else, but they tell you to start investing, right? When I was 20, I was already investing. I was. And then
Hmm.
here's what happens. I had 7 children. And guess what happens when you have 7 children? Life happens and expenses happen.
Yeah.
And what's the first thing you do? You go, well, I have that money saved, so I'm going to tap it. I'll put it back later. I will. And then you don't.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
what we need to do is start teaching young families to leverage their money, don't spend it. Because we all know that's what wealthy families do. They don't spend their money. They leverage their money and spend other people's. And that's another way that we can use traditional tools in untraditional ways to look at things like emergency funds and investing in ways that you're not on the hamster wheel of always replenishing your dang emergency fund, because that's what we do. We build it up, we spend it, and now dang, we got to build it up again. So we can't long-term invest. We have to build up our emergency fund again because we had an emergency. No, you don't need to be on that hamster wheel. We can leverage things to give you an emergency fund that you can borrow against, right? Handle the emergency, pay yourself back. So you're always net positive. Your money's always growing, because this is what wealthy families do, and it's about time we access the same rules that they access.
Right, right. Final question, and just more curious. I haven't been to Texas in a few years, and I used to live there, and I spent a lot of time in Austin, and Austin was just rapidly growing, and this was some time ago, and I'm sure it's still growing. Now that you have so many Americans that are migrating south, they're going to those tax-free or tax helpful states such as Florida and Texas. Are you seeing a population boom in your area? And if so, is the state able to keep up with, say, infrastructure improvements and maybe
I mean,
housing
they're
as well?
they're trying. They're trying. It's a lot. Like when my little suburb of Hutto, that's where I actually am. I'm
Hmm.
positioned directly between a new Samsung factory and the Tesla factory.
Okay.
Used to be country. Used to be a village. When I came here, was there's nothing. You heard cattle. Now I hear trucks. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's spreading. Like there's a lot of things going on in Austin for sure. And I think we're trying. Things are popping up everywhere. I hope. I think we learned a lot from Snowpocalypse right here a couple years ago when I walked out of my front door with snow over my knees. I was not happy. I
I
was not
bet.
happy that day. Come on, Texas. This is not what it's supposed to be. But what I can say about Texas is we're pretty practical. And when stuff happens, we take measures to make sure that it doesn't happen again. I'm not a super fan of any government really, but I think we do pretty well here if we can just stay Texan and not let all of our our new neighbors from certain states redo our politics to make it like them. Like we don't want to be California.
Right.
California's broke. We don't want that, right? I'm not talking social policy here. I'm just specifically talking fiscal policy. We
Yeah.
need to we need to stay on track. So I'm not going to speak to. I always tell, when I teach, I always say I'm not going to talk about politics because I was a homeschool mom, right? So
Hmm.
homeschool moms pay attention to the genesis of words and politics. Poly means many, ticks, blood-sucking
Hmm.
insects. We're not talking about politics. We're not going to do that, right? We're not talking
Right.
about no,
No.
no politics. So
No,
I
I
think
understand.
Texas is doing well, but the growth is amazing. It's amazing here.
Yeah, it is amazing. And one of the things that really saved Texas back during the housing crisis, as you know, in 2008, was that Texas had a rule with how much you can take out in equity in your home. And whereas around the country, your people are taking HELOCs, they were taking loans that were these equity loans that were well over 100% of the value of the home. In Texas, there were limitations, and that really helped Texans stay away from the housing crisis that really gripped the rest of the country and probably has helped the state that much more now as we see decades later because they didn't have to resort to state income taxes and the like. But you are right about the property taxes. Completely agree with you there. I know a lot of ranchers, family owned, that lost their the ranch just from they just didn't have the money to be able to keep up with those property taxes. So yeah,
Yeah,
that was a tough call then. So Rebecca,
it's
we're gonna leave it there. I gotta say, this was great. Gotta have you back. Want to hear some more about it. Hopefully, we could talk about next time when you come on. We'll talk about some other tax-free strategies for the audience. I know that this is a need for everyone to hear. So I do appreciate you joining me today, and I do wish you a happy holidays.
it was my pleasure. Happy holidays to you as well.
Thank you, Rebecca. So, on behalf of Rebecca Irey, I am Todd Schoenberger. Thank you once again for joining me on the Money Path. We'll catch you next time. Take care. All right, that was great, Rebecca.